as we have spawning down in the bottom left for Storm Gaming. It is GuMiho.
I love how we're getting picture-in-picture for the scout, baby. In the top right side, we're looking at the main base of a Korean Protoss who often likes to be aggressive in this matchup with a gateway on the other side of the map. We'll see if he's going to do that today. This is our Korean Protoss representing Alpha X, Zoun.
Looks like it's just going to be a bit of harassment here with the early probe. This is something that both Zest and Hero have done. And obviously we got Zest retired now, but Hero and Zest were on the same team. So it's cool to see another Protoss player from Korea picking this up, doing it. It's normally we see it attacking the SCV. So this is a little bit interesting, but I guess with GuMiho putting the barracks a little bit further back, he's kind of resigned to going after the minerals. Still a nuisance, but it's going to be more difficult to get value, I think.
Yeah, not really a whole lot that he can do here, but at least if GuMiho would have gone for a proxy, he would have seen that immediately. Now we know that's not the case, but hindsight, everything is easier. You're still basically forcing GuMiho to chase your probe, so at this point GuMiho is also losing a bit of mining time, and sometimes that hurts the Terran actually a little bit more than it hurts the Protoss before mules are out. But overall, nothing truly worth analyzing. I'm really curious to see what GuMiho's follow-up is going to be, man, because this guy does TVT builds in TVP. When you expect a Banshee the least, he will always sneak out a Banshee. I'm sure that Special is a big fan of that kind of stuff. Overall, he just has cool builds. Sometimes it looks 200 IQ. Sometimes it truly falls flat on his face, but I think we're going to have a fun series. That's a little bit sloppy, though. Losing the probe that quickly against just a Marine. Like, if that's a Reaper, sure, it's inevitable. But that was just a Marine, so we didn't have to lose the probe there.
Yeah, a little bit of damage being taken on the shields from the SCV chasing it, and I think Zoun didn't really take that into account as he face-checked the ramp, and a nice little trap from GuMiho. Nice move. I kind of want to go on it a little bit. I actually think you make a really good point about the scouting probe, because GuMiho is one of those players that does love to proxy racks quite a bit in this matchup. So by going for the early probe scout, maybe that's going to mean that in maps 2 and potentially 3, we're less likely to see something like that. So I think it's a good move from Zoun overall, even though it didn't, work out for him this game.
Yeah, sometimes you do set the pace of the series in the very first game. And you'd be like, hey man, if you were thinking of doing this in game 2, just know that I'm most likely going to find it out very quickly. So if I were you, I wouldn't necessarily do it. It's going to be Stargate versus Starport. The Adept makes it up the ramp. Doesn't really see a whole lot. Lets the Shade finish just to get one hit off. But now this Adept is going to take a bit of a beating. And Hellions are obviously quicker than Adepts. Now the Hellion alone will probably not win the fight against that Adept, since it still had a decent amount of HP. And he lets the Shade finish up and goes for the recall. And a Phoenix is going to be the opening unit out of the Stargate. So no Oracles coming out of Zoun, just Phoenix, which I don't think is a bad call against somebody who likes to be as weirdly aggressive in the very early game as GuMiho is. But it is important that he gets a quick scout off, because there are some different follow-ups you need to do if you want to defend with Phoenixes rather than with Oracles.
Yeah, there's certainly and he is going for the scout, I believe, with that Phoenix. Yeah, he's going to send it straight across the map. So I like that decision. Of course, the Marines are going to be able to, shoo this away. Ooh, does he see the medevac? He misses the load up.
Yep.
He'll know, though, right?
I'm not 100% sure if he knows. He goes for Blink, by the way. Phoenix into Blink. I feel that that's such a weird build. Now, of course, this is a map with a lot of surface area where you can Blink into the main base with Stalkers, but 99 out of 100 times you'll see Phoenix into charge. Like, even 8 Marines here are really going to hurt if you don't have a shield battery in the main base. Only 2 Phoenixes is not going to really be very useful. Losing this pylon would be disastrous. The Hellion is going to create some chaos. This is a sick start for GuMiho. And with what? What kind of an investment is this? Oh my god, Zoun, we're going to lose a lot of workers here, mate, if we don't pay attention. I mean, we get the pylon, we get a lot of lost mining time, we get 2 workers. Phenomenal start for GuMiho.
Yeah, that is so good. It delays that blink as well, which obviously this is meant to be a very sharp timing. And now he's going to abuse this low ground again. This is looking so good for Gumi.
Yep, and the Phoenixes missed it again. Does get one shot there on the medevac. Every single shot matters, but even this gateway is going to be in a bit of trouble. We use a lift to break the lock-on, but the lock-on was already active for a while, so we can easily lock on again. This is honestly a bit of a disaster for Zoun, and Blink is going to be done so late because the Twilight was unpowered for a while. If I was Zoun, I'd absolutely be hating life right now. He does not want to lose the gate, but he still does not have a very good army to fight this. I think GuMiho could stick around a bit longer, to be totally honest. And don't forget about the Cloak Banshee, by the way. Where's that Robo Mate? Where's the Forge? Where's the Oracle for Revelation? This Cloak Banshee, I mean, I joked about it. They'll never see it coming. Zoun in this game will actually never see it coming. 2 Stalkers get warped in. He goes for the Pylon instead. Gonna use the Marines in the side blockers. The Marines could be in a bit of a dicey spot. That's a bit sloppy there, losing a Cyclone like that. But I guess we're trying to get some value out of the Marines. This was not perfect by GuMiho. He could have done a bit better. But overall, I still think it's okay. Micro, come on.
Oh.
We could have picked up a couple of shots there.
Yeah. But here comes the Banshees in the main base, and you talked about it, the lack of detection. There is an Oracle that was started up very, very quickly. So it's not the end of the world, but this is still looking pretty rough right here. Both mineral lines being pulled. Meanwhile, the Banshee gets intercepted in the middle of the map. Still 8 probes, so much damage.
Yeah, and obviously this pylon did get taken out. I mean, Zoun, I think, knows that he is in a weirdly all-in spot. He is going up to 3 bases, but right now he's down 12 workers. When is the last time a Protoss was down 12 workers? 6.5 minutes into a game. Are we going to lift the tanks and just blink into the main base? That may very well be the play, but he gets deflected before he can even blink in. And every second that goes by right now is a golden one for GuMiho. All that Gumi really needs to do is hang in there for another 20 seconds, and he should be totally fine.
Yeah, Zoun is going to try and force the ramp at the natural, and I mean, there's not enough to keep him off of it. So Zoun might be able to get into a really good position and get some damage done, but there's enough Marines here now to kind of push this back at least temporarily. I don't think GuMiho should be chasing this far. He's got to be very, very careful with this army.
Yep, he doesn't have to. You've already done all the hard work, mate. You've already done so much economic damage. There is no need to take any risks here. Zoun has done a good job in catching up in workers as he's just cranking out 3 at a time. It's a fun game. It's definitely not a flawless game from either party, to be honest, because GuMiho could have microed a bit with his medevac, right? If there are only 2 Stalkers shooting at a Cyclone, it's really not that hard to avoid some of these shots. If he would have locked on the Stalkers, he would have killed them before they would have even killed a single unit there. But there were 2 fights happening at the same time, so we're gonna let it slide, I guess, and these things happen.
Yeah, it would have been a very different story if there's 3 Cyclones alive instead of just the 1 right now. Like, it would have been almost impossible for Zoun to get anything done. As it is, it still doesn't get that much. He picks off a few Marines, really not much impact. But the big power spike here for GuMiho is going to be that stim, that combat shields, that +1 weapons. This is looking very scary, and I really don't know how Zoun is supposed to hold any kind of dedicated attack from GuMiho right now.
Same. I think the only mistake that GuMiho could make is not move out in the next 30 to 40 seconds. That would just be silly. You don't want to give him the luxury of getting up a couple of Colossus. Maybe he can have 1 by the time you start pushing, but you don't want to drag this on too much longer. Especially because GuMiho is not investing in any additional upgrades. His army is big. His army is powerful. The Banshees could deal a lot of damage again in the main base. I'm not sure where the Phoenixes and Oracles are. Okay, they're on the left side of the screen. But that's still going to be 4 or 5 workers going down very quickly. 6, even 7, make it 8. I mean, that's a lot of damage for units that were waiting in the main base for that.
Yeah, seriously, that is... Yeah, GuMiho's Banshees, it just doesn't make sense how much damage they get. Like, he finds the right situations for them. And if you ever told a player, we're like, all right, he's going to make Phoenix, I'm going to make Banshees, I'm going to kill like 20 probes with them, you'd call them crazy, but GuMiho does it. And he does it, like, he somehow manages to find consistency. Obviously, it's a very specific situation that he was able to do it this game, but I think he recognized it a little bit. That being said, double Colossus is going to be on the field. However, there is 6 tanks with this push. This is scary.
Yeah, good luck getting on top of 6 tanks. I mean, the dream scenario is always that you have a bunch of zealots coming in from multiple angles, right? And that the tanks shoot at each other or they shoot at the bio units. But GuMiho is such an expert with this army composition that I really don't see that happen. This army of the Terran is bigger and it's definitely more powerful. But we still need to make sure we don't mess up.
Yeah, and, you know, all it takes is an unexpected zealot flank. Things go really poorly. This is not where you want to be sending your zealot. Okay. Is he? Wait, he's not counterattacking, right? That would be insane.
I think he is. He says the best defense is offense. Maybe he looks at his army and realizes that he's never going to get a good trade. So you may as well just try to make sure that the push never truly happens and hope that you deal devastating damage on the other side of the map. But the positioning of the bio units here is absolutely perfect, with these SCVs functioning as a bit of a meat shield and a derp shield at the same time. I mean, GuMiho is having a sick game 1 here, and I think Zoun is running out of options.
I think so too. He is getting pressed back into his natural right here. The tanks are sieging up. We're going to see Colossus trying to attack into a massive concave. A couple of nice Phoenix lifts are going to disable a couple of these tanks, but there's just so much bio on the ground, and GuMiho will absolutely deal with this. The Zealots returning from their mission, getting obliterated on the way back in, and I think we are going to be seeing a very, very quick 1-0 as the Colossus fall. Just like that, Zoun taps out. GuMiho takes a super chaotic game number 1.
Yeah, 11 minutes, not even all that quick, but it felt quick just because GuMiho was right in his face, and it felt that he never truly slowed down, besides when Blink finished up, and he's like, all right, I just got to hang in there for a little bit, wait for +1, wait for Stim, but GuMiho actually played amazing in that game, and it all started with that first Phoenix. Gets the scout off, sees the Marines, takes a different route to see what's actually happening in the main base. GuMiho doesn't hesitate for a split second, picks up 8 Marines, and by the time that Zoun realized, that medevac was pretty much in its base. And I actually really wonder what would have happened if we didn't pick up those 8 Marines. Let's say we just keep them there. Let's trade it out, right? For the 2 Stalkers, the 2 Phoenix, and an Adept. I actually think you're going to get a pretty good fight there, because as a Protoss, you need to kill the medevac first. If you don't kill the medevac, you don't have the DPS to kill the Marines. But killing the medevac is a bit hard. It's derpy. Then your own units are going to start running low on HP. There was no shield battery there. So I actually think if we would have just left the Marines in the main base, maybe we would have been even further ahead than we were. But GuMiho with just a phenomenal early game and a cool follow-up and a cool follow-up push.
Yeah. Ivan would go so far as to say just sniping probes. I think he could have killed
absolutely.
like 15 probes if Zoun doesn't respond. And if he does respond, then you either boost away or you trade against the Stalkers. Like, it's at the very least, I think you're getting like, even with a relatively quick reaction time, I think you're getting like 6 or 7 probes.
Easily. Because he already had 2, right? And it's like often the hard thing for Marines without Stim is to get in range. But he was in range. He was right there.
Exactly. Stacked up on the mineral patch that was right next to him. And it just goes to show, like, even without that happening, even with him running away and getting I mean, like, he put on some pressure, but he didn't get as much damage done as he could have. He still came out of it so far ahead.
Let's see if game 2 is going to be a bit closer and more competitive. I am sure that this man is going to switch it up in the top left side. The purple Protoss representing all facts. This is Zoun.
And his opponent spawning down on the bottom right for Storm Gaming. It is the Yellow Terran player, GuMiho. Looking phenomenal right there. We got the picture-in-picture again. I like that, just seeing the cheeky Nexus. We're not going to see a proxy barracks out of GuMiho at all there. So maybe I always like this when players, you know, they play to a certain reputation on the ladder or in smaller tournaments, and then they just completely switch it up in the bigger tournaments. This is something Rhett used to do. He always had the reputation of being, you know, Mr. Drone. But if you ever played him on the ladder, he would all in like 60 to 70% of the time. And then when it came time for the big tournaments, he'd switch back to his, you know, big drone man. Now, that one doesn't work as well because he was still just so well known as heavy drone play, but it still tripped up, I think, a few of the players that he went up against on the ladder. It always puts it in the back of their mind.
You know, before StarCraft 2 even came out, we had a beta tournament in Amsterdam a very long time ago, right? Like 2010, obviously, beta. We had like 80 to 100 Dutch people going to that event. Wow. It was in some game cafe. It was really fun. And I actually made it to the upper bracket final, and I played against Red, and I got smacked 3-0. He just made Hydras every game. Nothing has changed, man. Even 11 years ago, the Hydras were a mean killing machine. Got 3-0'd by Red, but it was a beautiful day of StarCraft.
That is awesome. I remember so much excitement. I remember hearing about GSL for the first time and like telling friends and stuff about it. I'm like, it's a video game and it's $100,000. Like, I was so excited about it, you know? And now, you know, there's tournaments out there like TI is like, yeah, it's like a $40 million prize pool. And obviously it's still exciting about that. But I remember the first time hearing about like a really big tournament and just being blown away by that. There's so many cool stories from like the beginning of StarCraft 2.
Mhm. Yeah, but even way back, right? I remember the very first time I saw a picture of a guy called SK Insomnia who won the World Cyber Games for Bulgaria in 2003. And he had a picture with a check of like $10,000. It was like, or 20,000 even. I was like, oh my god! I was like, I want this too. The early days of Warcraft. That was amazing. All right, let's talk about this game too, as we have completely different openings. I'm not surprised by it, because the one last thing before we started talking about Red and the good old days, as Double Reaper doesn't get too much done. Can we get the kill? Oh, cannot get the kill on the second one. There's a Hellion though, getting an additional kill. But I wanted to go back quickly about the strategy overall of Zoun in the previous game. Phoenix into Blink. I know what he was going for, but I want to hear your opinion. I'm personally not a fan of that, man. I feel like it rarely looks good.
Yeah, it feels like he was trying to lean into a meta play of like, oh, well, I'm going for a quick Twilight Council. You're going to assume it's Phoenix Charge Lot. You're going to not want to be aggressive, and I'm going to be able to get lots of pickoffs with those Blink Stalkers. But it just, GuMiho just gets in with 8 Marines, and it's just a nightmare. It feels like it was Zoun trying to be way too fancy. I don't know. That's is that what you were thinking as well, or what's I want to hear your thoughts because you have a lot more knowledge on the Phoenix play. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh okay.
Wow, that's a GuMiho is on fire today, man. It's so cool to see I don't want to say GuMiho is back and whatnot, because he's obviously a GSL champ once upon a time, but he's been looking good lately, and he once more absolutely gets the best of Zoun in the early game. And now a tank and a medevac are going to show up in his natural 4 minutes and 20 seconds in. We are building a battery, but that battery's going to look at the value this one Hellion is going to get. Look at these Hellion shots. This is absolutely ridiculous. There is a medevac there as well. We can obviously micro for days with the medevac. That is one thing GuMiho didn't quite do in that previous game. But now we are doing it, man. Is this game ending damage? 18 armies fly against 2. What on earth? GuMiho is out of his mind. This is sick. I think a lot of people thought it was going to be close between these two. GuMiho's like, nope, it's not going to be close between us. I am going to show you guys what GuMiho is all about.
Oh, and he's dodging the shots. Oh my god, this is beautiful out of GuMiho. You said it, you didn't want to say it, but I think you're right. He's back, and he drops the mule for the repair. I think this is a great call. This is all in the face of what is supposed to be an all-in from Zoun. Zoun is the one who wants to be doing 4-gate aggression, but GuMiho, he is going to be getting so much done. We're going to see a big blink forward. He will take down the 2 tanks. He's going to lose way too many stalkers. It's 6 army supply to 21. Yep. This is it. This is all she wrote for Zoun. This is what he has on the map.
And tank number 3 shows up, but I did still like that blink. That blink was very decisive. Oh, gets a couple of shots off. That mule should have maybe been a bit closer towards this tank. I mean, GuMiho is going up to 3 bases, does have a 7 worker advantage. Stalkers are so damn low on HP. Not a single shield battery inside. What do you even do here if you're Zoun? He already used recall earlier, so these Stalkers kind of need to take the long way around. Banshee shows up. Cloak is almost ready. 0 observers on the map. I think this is it, StatFast. I actually think that the game is going to end here.
I think you're right about that. The Robo's even depowered. Even if it wasn't for all these Marines, wasn't for everything else, this Banshee would kill so much anyways. Shield battery in the main will mean that it can't get down another Stalker. But there's just not much you can do here. Down double the supply, down 24 army supply at 6 minutes. GuMiho takes it extremely decisive 2-0.